Yeah, let's do it.
Sanders patiently running. Sanders, good cut. And another block. Sanders still going inside the 40.
NFC East champs, divisional champs, NFC champs, and world champs.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Kelly Green Hour. For the first time ever, we are live. I'm your host, LJ Harrell, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Connor Donald. Connor, I'm excited. We're 4 days away from the NFL draft. The Eagles have 2 first-round picks, probably going to move one way or the other, but the Eagles should have a great opportunity to increase the talent of this team, to bolster the defense, to get Jalen Hurts some help. And we are going to go through a first-round full mock draft. We did the Eagles-only mock draft, 7-round mock draft last week. This week, we're going to do a first-round, 32 picks of the 2022 first-round NFL draft. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be live, and we will continue to go live going forward. Plus, our podcast format, of course, will remain. But I'm really excited. Draft day is coming, and this is going to be one of the most unpredictable drafts we've had in so long. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going. I follow these sites who break down all the rumors, and they show it, and it'll say Jags are doing this at 1, and then the next report will be Jags are doing this at 1, and none of the 3 or 4 are the same.
Yeah, Trent Baalke's come out for the Jacksonville Jaguars saying they have 4 guys at the top of their list. So, I mean, I think that they might be saying that to see if a team wants to jump up. But I don't know if any team wants to risk or, send that capital to the Jacksonville Jaguars for there's no consensus, as you mentioned, no consensus number 1 overall pick. There's no legit number 1 quarterback at the top of this draft that a team like the Carolina Panthers, like the Seattle Seahawks need to get up to get that number 1, get to the number 1 pick to secure their quarterback of the future.
And there seems to be also a consensus that this draft class there's not a lot of elite talent. So nobody's going to give up that draft capital that you would normally command for an elite talent like we traditionally have seen. So I feel like it'll be a lot harder to get the trading up because there's been a lot of rumors of possibilities of trading up. And there's also some teams saying, yeah, there hasn't been a lot of interest in trading up because these players could equally fall to the positions 2 picks, 3 picks, 4 picks later, as if you were to deal and trade up. So to me, it's crazy. It's so unpredictable, and I can't wait to dive into this. This has become a rare tradition where we stem away from our Philadelphia Eagles content and go purely NFL all for one night. And that's not because we hate the NFL, but that's because we're the Kelly Green Hour, so we focus on our Philadelphia Eagles.
Exactly, and we are, like I said, 4 days away from the NFL draft, a month away from the schedule coming out, and we're all excited about that. Before we get going, you want to follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. You can follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10 and follow me on Twitter at LJHarrell54.
Of course, and make sure you follow the Painted Lines. They've been so gracious to offer up their streaming platforms and invite us in to use them. We will be right in there as the off-season rolls on. And of course, for tonight's show, we are also joined by Mitch Kofsky at Mitch Kofsky. He joined us last week as well to do our Philadelphia Eagles only mock draft. We felt it only great to bring him back to do a 32 pick first round mock draft and try to predict this completely unpredictable landscape. Mitch, welcome back. Welcome aboard again. And you said you've been doing a lot of mock drafts. Are you starting to get a consensus feel for some things, or is this really going to be one of the craziest drafts?
It's going to be a really crazy draft. Like you said, it's so unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. Like, for example, the Giants have the 5th and the 7th round. 2 picks in the first round, 5th and the 7th. Yo, what is up, Coach Dante? That's my guy. Thank you for tuning in, man. Really appreciate you. Make sure you hit the subscribe button for these guys. They work really hard. But, yeah, they're going to trade one of those picks back. Let's be real. 5th and 7th.
It's been more, yeah. It's definitely been mentioned as a rumor, and especially on the Kelly Green Hour page, I've mentioned it's been mentioned multiple times. Very recently, The Athletic, he was answering questions. I believe, was it The Athletic? No, it was not The Athletic. It was Pro Football Network. He was responding to questions, and he said he would be absolutely shocked if Philadelphia is there at 15-18. With that in mind, I would like to point out this mock draft will not include trades.
Yes, exactly.
So, of course, it will not be completely realistic to the circumstances. But, of course, for the time being, we believe that this is as real as we're going to be able to make it be. But, of course, Philadelphia is likely moving back for one of these picks. There is a rumor that they might move up if Ahmed Gardner starts to fall in that, it's probably more like the 7 to 10 range, I think would be more the ballpark that he tries to get up into. But otherwise, no trades in this mock draft. Thank you for mentioning that, Mitch.
So let's get started. This is how we're going to do it. We did earlier this week. I did a randomizer. I did three times. The first pick is going to be Connor. The second pick is going to be Mitch. And I'm going to take on the third pick. And then we'll just continue to go in that order as we go along. We're going to try to keep it between 60 and 70 seconds, 32 picks. It's a lot of picks. Probably the Eagles picks, we may dive in a little bit more than the other ones. But we can also talk about if we believe there may be a trade from a team, but we'll try to keep it quick and concise. So with the first pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Connor Jaguars take
I'm going to keep this plain and simple because I think he said there's 4 guys on the board. I think the Trayvon Walker hype is absurd. I don't like him. The ceiling is there. The ceiling is so sexy. There's been 2 names at the top of Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau have been at the top of boards for so long. You cannot question why those names are there. And to me, you cannot not take Aiden Hutchinson with the first pick in the draft. I'm going with Aiden Hutchinson to the Jags. The biggest need is at edge for them, and they committed to that there. That's a need. Cornerback could be a need. I mean, I understand people think Gardner should go there, but the ceiling is sky high for a couple names in this draft. And then then you get this drop off where there's more of a floor for some of these guys. And don't get me wrong, I love Trayvon Walker. But at number 1, when Hutchinson and Thibodeau have been the talk of this edge class for over a year now, I'm sorry. I'm going with Aiden Hutchinson.
And I know Mitch is happy being a big University of Michigan fan. Also, and he said it last week, he thinks that Hutchinson can have the type of impact that Micah Parsons had. And look, I mention it all the time. I hate Dallas. I'm not a Penn State fan, but I don't see that type of impact. And there's not that type of impactful player in this draft. But of the names available, Aiden Hutchinson seems legit to go number 1 overall. So now we go to number 2 with the Mitch Lions on the board. Who you got, Mitch?
Okay, so for the Detroit Lions here, you can go anywhere. You can go any position except for quarterback. I mean, you can still go quarterback, but they'll go behind Jared Goff. So for me, the Mitch Lions are selecting Kayvon Thibodeau because for that defense, I feel like you can use someone, with energy that has that great IQ and everything. I really like Kayvon Thibodeau here.
You don't believe the rumors and reports that the head coach Dan knee chopping Campbell does not like Kayvon Thibodeau?
Honestly, this is the first time I'm ever hearing about that.
That was a report that emerged a couple weeks ago there that he didn't really like Kayvon Thibodeau, that he didn't think that it fit the style. Obviously, there's been a lot of rumors about Kayvon Thibodeau that I think are being overblown, that clearly some NFL execs also believe are being overblown about his want to play football and his drive. But to me, I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau, you heard me rant and rave about Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau 30 seconds ago. You know my thoughts on those 2 guys.
And if Kayvon Thibodeau were to drop closer to 10, that would be a spot I think the Eagles would look to get him. They love pass rushers. Thibodeau coming into the college football year last year, he was the consensus number 1 overall. Injuries, love of football, potentially hurts him, but going number 2 overall to the Detroit Lions.
Now, let me just say this. When it comes to rumors and everything, I don't really believe them because they could throw a smoke screen, to throw the teams off. So for me, I like stay far away from that as possible, and I just go with the best available or the best fit I feel will be good for that team.
Well, and as you mentioned, Detroit has a lot of holes. All right, moving to number 3 overall. The LJ Texans are on the board, and as we know, the Texans have a lot of needs. They could go anywhere. I'm going to have the Houston Texans take Evan Neal, offensive tackle out of Alabama. I'm a big Alabama fan as well. But Evan Neal, he can slot right in, play left or right tackle, be an instant bookend, one of the bookend tackles on that offensive line, protecting. I mean, I guess Davis Mills is the quarterback now, but we all know that they're looking for a franchise quarterback after trading Deshaun Watson to the Cleveland Browns. They got a lot of picks. And this is also a trade back candidate. Again, there's not somebody there potentially that would Houston be like, all right, we love him that much. They could maybe trade back if there's a team that thinks that, if Carolina wants to jump up just to protect themselves to get a Kenny Pickett or a Malik Willis, they could do that. But excuse me, but yeah, Evan Neal, he is have you seen pictures of this guy like out of uniform?
I think his closest comp that I'm starting to see emerge a lot is Jordan Mailata.
Yeah,
because they're both,
which is crazy for a 7th round pick, right?
Well, that's a whole nother topic we can get on. But Jeff Stoutland has done a absolutely magnificent job with that beast of a man that is Jordan Mailata. To sit here today and be talking about a 3rd overall draft pick being comped to someone who came out as a 7th rounder who played rugby and never picked up a football before, amazing. And
now they got him they got Mailata, and not to get off base here, but they got Mailata on a really good deal too to be their franchise left tackle, and he's just a monster. I mean, and he can do it all. You saw he can sing as heck, being on The Masked Singer. That guy has a lot of talent. But the Texans are going to take Evan Neal, so we're going to go to the 4th overall pick with for their first pick in the 1st round. They have 2 in the top 10. The New York Jets. Connor, who you guys taking?
I am taking Ahmed Gardner here.
I knew it.
There's been a lot of reports for the Jets, and it looks like it's CB at 4, wide receiver at 10 is the majority of what I'm seeing for reports as far as this goes. And to me, you can't go wrong with taking Ahmed Gardner. He is becoming the consensus CB1 in the class. As I spoke to last weekend on the Kelly Green Hour, do I think the stats are overblown being in a group of 5 conference? Absolutely. But we cannot ignore that this is a absolutely stupendous lockdown CB talent that can absolutely become a CB1 for any franchise. The Philadelphia Eagles would be absolutely lucky to have him, but it's there's a lot of reports emerging also that Gardner won't make it outside the top 5, which is not a surprise. Jets should take him. Giants should take him. The Texans should take him. Any of those 3 could and should take him. And to be completely honest, I don't see Kayvon Thibodeau going 2, so he would be the one to slide, but Ahmed Gardner is not getting by those 3 teams. There is 0 chance he gets by the Texans, Jets, and Giants.
Yeah, and Sauce, I mean, you mentioned it. Yes, he played in the Power 5, but he gave up 0 touchdowns in his time at Cincinnati. He has that swagger that the Philadelphia Eagles definitely be looking for. And the New York Jets, they've brought in Jordan Whitehead at safety. They have Hall. I think their second corner is the guy from, I think he played at Virginia last year. But like they need to get that legit number 1 to help that defense on the Jets side, because their defense wasn't very good. And Sauce Gardner is definitely going to be a good start. So moving to the 5th pick in the 1st round of the 2022 NFL Draft, the New York Giants, who have 2 of the next 3 picks. Who are they taking, Mitch?
That's just insane. And like I said before we got started, I feel like they're going to trade one of them back. I just got that feeling. But for me, they need to go offensive line here because let's face it, the offensive line is garbage. So for me, I still can't pronounce his name. The guy from North Carolina State. What is it?
Ekem Ekwonu.
I still can't pronounce his name. Like, that's good. Yeah. I mean, come on. When you have Saquon Barkley there and you have Daniel Jones, who's, let's face it, not a good quarterback. Daniel Jones is garbage. I mean, come on. The guy fell flat on his face running towards the end zone. I mean, for that.
Happened against the Eagles. I don't really want to talk about that. But, speaking of the Giants, though, what are your guys' thoughts on the reports? And again, they're rumors, but Kadarius Toney, who they took last year after the Eagles jumped ahead of them to get Devontae Smith, that they want to trade him. I know it's a whole new regime, and that regime did not take Kadarius Toney, but he was their best when he was out on the field. He was their best receiver. They paid all that money to Kenny Golladay, and he did nothing. The offensive line was trash, so and Saquon Barkley had all those injuries. He did nothing. Daniel Jones is trash. Evan Ingram is gone, but he didn't do much. Like, Toney was their best offensive weapon last year. Now, obviously, Brian Daboll's should be a better coach than Joe Judge for the offensive side of the football. But what are your guys' thoughts quickly on the rumors of Kadarius Toney potentially being traded by draft? Connor?
To me, first of all, I want to say one thing. If Daniel Jones is getting a third chance at being a starting quarterback, that first of all tells you all you need to know about this quarterback class, especially when you have 2 picks in the top 10, like the Giants do. Second of all, Kadarius Toney deciding not to show up to voluntary training camp. And I understand there's a lot of people out there defending him because it's voluntary. Second year, oft injured in his first year, new regime, new playbook. Everybody is getting a fresh slate, a clean chance, and you say, I will not show up to this voluntary camp, was the straw that broke the camel's back. This guy has made a lot of poor decisions from that perspective, and he's had his issues. There were character issues. There were concerns. There were question marks coming into the draft 2 years ago when he was taken. And last year, he didn't show up to the voluntary training camp because he didn't. I think it's because he didn't have his rookie contract signed. This year, there's no excuse. You show up to this and you show this new regime you're ready to work and you're ready to play. I don't blame them at all that they want to move on from Kadarius Toney.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly, Mitch, what are your thoughts?
I mean, honestly, I don't see them why would they do that? It's like their best player. Obviously, second best player if you go Saquon first, but you don't really have a quarterback to throw the ball to him. So it's just like, I can see it. Maybe you get some value out of him. I just hope the Eagles don't jump on that.
Would you do? They will never do it, but would you do Kadarius Toney for Jalen Reagor straight up?
Oh, for that, straight up, yes.
It would never happen, though. All
right. I know. So can I throw in Whiteside or new tight end? I'll throw in Whiteside or new tight end.
Neither of them should be on the team next year, but that's definitely a discussion that Connor and I are definitely going to have later on in this offseason as we get to our projections of who's going to make the team. All right, so moving on to the 6th overall pick, the Carolina Panthers. This is where it would not shock me if we saw a quarterback go. Last year they took J.C. Horn with their first round pick. I'm going to have the Carolina Panthers take Garrett Wilson, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Now look,
wow.
I think they're going to trade back because they want a receiver. Or no, excuse me, they want a quarterback. 6 is high. So I think if they could potentially trade back, they will. We're not doing trades in this. You need to get weapons for whoever's going to play quarterback on that team. They could potentially trade Christian McCaffrey, but you need to get help. They have Robbie Anderson. There's all this talk of them trading for Baker Mayfield. We saw how Robbie Anderson felt about that in his tweet. But they just need to get weapons. And Garrett Wilson surprised a lot of people with his 40 time at the combine. And again, I don't like to go based off on the 40 time, but he's going to be a weapon. He was a weapon at Ohio State, and he'll help whoever the quarterback is for Carolina. And look, I don't think that guy's on the roster. I don't think any of us think that guy's on the roster. But Garrett Wilson is going to be the first receiver taken, shockingly. He's not my favorite receiver in this draft. I mean, Jameson Williams is my favorite. And if he didn't have that ACL injury last year, he would be going. He would be the first receiver going. But I'm going to take Garrett Wilson to the Carolina Panthers.
The first major shocker to me, because I would be so surprised to see Garrett Wilson go there. I do think even if they're at 6, I mean, we've talked about the trade market. It doesn't seem good. They want to trade back. But at this point, a lot of these teams would be better off to make the decision that best suits their franchise, because the return isn't going to be multiple firsts. They're not going to get a superstar in return. It's just not going to be what it used to be for a trade market, I don't think. And I wouldn't be shocked to see them go and take Malik Willis. They seem to have quite a love for Malik Willis.
I don't know. I think it'll be Kenny Pickett only because of his relationship with Matt Rule. I'm not a Kenny Pickett guy. I don't want to say I hate him. I'm not a Kenny Pickett guy. I think Malik Willis is going to be the better quarterback in this draft. But I think if they do go quarterback, it'll be Pickett because of that relationship. He was going to go to Temple, but then he ended up going to Pitt. Like he had when Rule was at Temple, so like he has that relationship with him. So that's why I think if they do go quarterback, it'll be Kenny Pickett. All right, so let's move to the 7th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. The New York Giants take. Go ahead, Connor.
So the Giants have some needs. I think edge and safety to me stand out at this spot. Ekamakwanu was an absolutely amazing pick by Mitch Kofsky, who seemed to be in the war room with me at the time of the pick. So I really like that pick. To me, at this point, I like Trayvon Walker. I don't love Trayvon Walker. I think, like, to me, Trayvon Walker, you have to go with a guy, an edge with a bit more upside, with a bit more oomph to him. And that's why I like Hutchinson for me, Thibodeau for me. Jermaine Johnson has some oomph to him, something that I can get behind that I would like to see. So I don't know if they necessarily be full in on the edge position here. And I did completely think that, just like the Kayvon Thibodeau reports, the reports about Kyle Hamilton are absolutely ridiculous. The tape is there, man. He didn't show a great combine. So what? He's still going to outplay 3/4 of the safeties that are in the NFL right now. His athleticism is still there. It's on the tape. There's so much to love. I'm going Kyle Hamilton here. I think it's the better pick. I think it's a safer pick. I think there's a nice floor, a very safe floor, and there is a super attractive ceiling in the NFL. And coming out with Ekamakwanu and Kyle Hamilton, I think would be really great for the New York Giants.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Hamilton is I'm not a Notre Dame fan either, but when you watch him on the field, like, again, that's why I think the combine isn't like the best judge of these players. Go off of the tape. Watch them on the field. A lot of football speed is quicker than running a straight 40. How many players run a straight 40? You're probably a receiver that's running a fly route. You're the Deshaun Jackson type. Not like when they make offensive linemen run 40s, it never made sense to me. Defensive linemen running 40s, it never made sense to me. But Kyle Hamilton, you watch it on the field, just like in the Kobe Dean, when you watch him on the field, I don't care about his size. He goes sideline to sideline. Kyle Hamilton all over the field. And I mean, as an Eagles fan, it would stink having to face Kyle Hamilton twice a year for the next potentially 10 years or whatever it may be. But yeah, that'd be a good pick for the New York Giants.
Yeah, and to me, the combine should only serve as a way of verifying what you saw in the field. If you sit there and you say, man, his play speed is incredible, he looks so good. Like, okay, I'm going to use this example quickly of Isaiah Spiller. Isaiah Spiller, if you watch the film on Isaiah Spiller and you are shocked by a 4.6 40 time, you got to relook at the film.
That's the Texas A&M running back, right?
Yes, that was his speed. That is how quick he's not a fast running back. He's not a 4.4 guy. He could have maybe cracked the 4.5, mid 4.5s, high 4.5s, but he's just not that quick of a guy. But he's a pound the ball, pound the rock runner. When you watch the tape on Kyle Hamilton and you see that and you're like, man, he's got sideline to sideline speed. I really like that. He's got great game speed. He's got great pursuit. And then he runs the 4.5 something that he ran at the combine. And you're like, ooh, I don't know if I like him anymore. Trust the tape, man. Trust your gut. Don't worry about a 40 time. Like you said, how often do you see them run a straight line at safety? Maybe if he's full on charging at a receiver who just grabbed a football, maybe he'll be running that straight line.
Kickoff returns or kickoff returns.
Yeah, kickoff returns.
But 70% of the time he gets kicked through the end zone anyway, unless you're Jake Elliott. Like that's you don't need to. That's why I'm never like I like to watch the combine, obviously, and the NFL is always gonna have the combine because it brings in money, ratings, everybody watches, but it doesn't bring out the true test, I think, of what a player is gonna be like on the field. What are your quick thoughts, Mitch, on Kyle Hamilton to the Giants?
I hate it that we got to play him against 2 times, but for the team, you need to go anywhere. You need your best available. So that's why I went with a Kongwu.
Okay.
Hey, I finally said it right. Go me. I finally said it right.
All right, so let's move to the Atlanta Falcons, our 8th overall. Traded Matt Ryan to the Indianapolis Colts. Signed Marcus Mariota to be their bridge quarterback. Probably. They got Kyle Pitts in the first round last year. Mitch, who do you got the Atlanta Falcons taking with the 8th overall pick?
I don't know if this comes as a shock or not, but I'm going to take Malik Willis here. Because Marcus Mariota, I feel like he's a bridge quarterback. How old is he, first of all?
Mariota?
Yeah.
Oof. 27,
late
28, I want to say.
28, 29, something like that. Because he was coming out when Chip, so what's that? 8 years ago? So he's probably like 30, 31.
I'll look it up just to be safe. But yeah, I feel like once you get a quarterback and you have Kyle Pitts, build your offense around those two, and you should be fine. So.
And okay, well, unless they trade Calvin Ridley next year. Next year, you'll get Calvin Ridley back, and that obviously doomed. I don't want to say doom the Eagles off season, but not being able to make that trade for Ridley because of his betting.
Marcus Mariota is 28.
Wow,
He's 28.
He's an old 28.
I know.
I feel like he's been in the league forever.
How long has he been in the league? I didn't see this.
The Atlanta Falcons took Malik Willis, and that puts a wrench into my plans at number 9 with the Seattle Seahawks. I was going to have them take Malik Willis. They need a quarterback. Again, this is probably a trade situation, but I'm gonna have the Seattle Seahawks take Kenny Pickett, quarterback out of Pittsburgh. They need a quarterback. We all know this. Trading Russell Wilson to Denver. They wanted the Eagles were in on that. We'll see if they make a move for Baker Mayfield. Not many people seem too keen on trading for Baker Mayfield, but they're going to get their potentially quarterback of the future in Kenny Pickett. And they still have a bunch of picks in this draft and future drafts that they can build around Pickett. So Kenny Pickett to the Seattle Seahawks.
I'm a little surprised solely for the fact that Kenny Pickett doesn't fit the style of offense that they've been running. And, to me, they obviously Malik Willis threw a massive wrench in that. But to me, I think Matt Corral makes a lot of sense for them. And I understand that's a humongous reach, or by some standards, a humongous reach. But there seems to be a love there between the Seahawks and Matt Corral from some reports that I'm seeing. So to me, I think there is a mold that seems to be light within that front office. And I think Willis and Corral most fitted of any quarterback that you would be taking in this class. So I'm a little surprised by Kenny Pickett there, but I understand no trade backs, and based on the way the board's fallen, I understand it. Yeah,
exactly. They probably trade back to coop up more picks and see if they can get Corral later. But I do think they go quarterback early. If it's the first round, obviously, I think they want Willis, and if Willis is there, like I said, threw a big wrench in my plans with the Falcons taking Malik Willis. All right, so let's finish off the top 10 in the 2022 NFL Draft. The New York Jets, with their second top 10 pick here in the first round, they take
Drake London, wide receiver out of USC. I have seen nothing but reports upon reports that say it's likely CB and wide receiver, CB with the first pick, wide receiver with the second pick, the way the board likely falls for the New York Jets. And I've seen nothing but a complete love for Drake London within reports to the New York Jets. So to me, this is just all too obvious. I understand there's some other needs out there, but their love and want to land a wide receiver at one of these two picks, and the name Drake London continuously appearing to me, made this an all too easy pick. So Drake London to the Jets.
So not Jamison Williams. I personally think it'd be Jamison Williams.
I think Jamison Williams is a better pick. I prefer him more. I like the ceiling. We've been there. We've done that with the Drake London type. I understand, we continue to say, well, you never know. This time could be different. This time could be different. Look at the tape. Look at the combine. We've been there with guys like that. We've been there with N'Keal Harry. We've been there with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Those guys, the comp to Mike Evans. Every single year, we get this comp to Mike Evans. You should stop comping unicorns. Somebody, the QB school on YouTube made that statement, and never have I ever connected with a statement more in my life about the NFL draft. Stop comping unicorns. Drake London to Mike Evans is not the comp. It shouldn't be the comp. It doesn't make sense. Mike Evans has proved himself the most unicorn over the last 8 straight years of the contested catch winning ability and doing it to the consistent extent that he does. Stop comping unicorns, but the reports to me, Drake London to the Jets.
I do think they go like you said, they're going to go defense and then offense. I don't know if it'll be a receiver. I mean, they have I would say offensive line, but I think they want to move Becton over to the right tackle. So maybe they might not have need for it. If they could trade back and then potentially like get a Linderbaum, they might try that because they still have to shore up that center position. But yeah, you don't take Linderbaum at 10, and I think getting a receiver to help out Zach Wilson is what they need to do. All right, the 11th pick, the Washington Commanders. Let's all get used to calling them the Commanders. Are on the clock. Mitch, who do you got the Commanders taking?
All right. So, shout out to my guy Rio. He's a Washington Commanders content creator, and he just told me, like, dude, we need to get weapons on weapons on weapons for Carson Wentz here. He doesn't want any excuses. So, for wide receiver, I'm going to grab Jameson Williams for Carson Wentz. Now
that hurts my Eagles fan heart, but
that hurts me too.
And Alabama fan heart, by the way.
Yeah, that hurts me too. But you got to say that Terry McLaughlin went out. Like, you need that new guy if that's actually true that Terry wants out. So Jameson Williams could be that guy.
I don't think that McLaurin or Metcalf or any of these other receivers that went out are going anywhere, honestly.
Oh, yeah, they're not.
They're not going to go anywhere, and they're going to stay where they're at. But that with the 11th pick, Jameson Williams out of Alabama. Our top 10 so far, Aiden Hutchinson to the Jaguars, Kayvon Thibodeau to the Lions, Evan Neal to Houston, Sauce Gardner to the Jets, Ikem Ekwonu to the Giants, Garrett Wilson to Carolina, Kyle Hamilton to the Giants, Malik Willis to the Falcons, Kenny Pickett to Seattle, Drake London to the Jets, and Jameson Williams to the Washington Commanders. Now, with the 12th overall selection, the Minnesota Vikings are on the clock, a new coaching staff. They got rid of Mike Zimmer. That defense wasn't great last year. So they're going to want to get after the quarterback, and I think if they can get Trayvon Walker at the 12th pick, I think they'll be happy. So I'm going to go Trayvon Walker out of Georgia. And as an Eagles fan, my thing was watch that championship game and pick all Georgia players. And that's what Minnesota decided, or Alabama players, but that's what Minnesota decides to do here. And they take Trayvon Walker out of Georgia.
I like it. If Trayvon Walker slides there, and I know I've been kind of trashing about it in the top 10, but I mean, he's a floor guy. I think he can meet the floor for you. He can do, like, there was just so much, just way more of a sexier ceiling that might potentially be there with a fairly good floor among some of the edge guys who have already went. But Trayvon Walker, to me, makes sense here. Like you said, you basically go up to that board and you say, who is the best player available defensively for me? And if Trayvon Walker is the one that's there, Trayvon Walker is the one who has to go.
And there's a lot of names. Derek Stingley, they need cornerback help. Yeah, they re-signed Patrick Peterson, but he's also like 40. Derek Stingley could help. Jermaine Johnson would have been nice. Jordan Davis in the middle of that run defense would have been nice. So Devin Lloyd at linebacker. I mean, I know they signed Michael Kendricks, but they lost Barr, if I'm not mistaken, I think they lost Barr. Anthony Barr. So, like, anybody could have helped. Trayvon Walker getting out of the top 10 would be big for Minnesota. Moving on to the Houston Texans, who also have with their there were 8 teams in this draft with multiple first-round picks. That's unprecedented. I don't remember the last time. I don't think it's ever happened that many teams had multiple first-round picks. So, Connor, who do you have the Houston Texans taking?
To me, this is a smash pick here because they have to start thinking about franchise players, franchise-altering players who are going to completely change their direction at certain positions. And to me, this is Derek Stingley. This is a guy that you go out and you take because he is going to alter your secondary. He is a guy you can trust to become the CB1. Could he have his rough patches in the first season? Potentially. And I won't deny that. Obviously, that should be expected in a cornerback who is transitioning from the college football game to the NFL game, and you like to kind of be able to play like in the Philadelphia Eagles situation where you get to play behind that guy, maybe hint at something Andrew Booth type situation where you get to play behind Darius Slay for a little bit, or Trent McDuffie, play behind that CB1 for a little bit, refine your game, get really good at the NFL level. But here you have to look at who can be a franchise-altering player for me, and we know this is a pass-first league, so we know how do you stop that? Of course, it's got to be at the cornerback position, who is going to be one-on-one with the top wide receivers for the teams that you're facing. Derek Stingley going to the Texans.
And Stingley was really good his freshman year at LSU. Kind of took a step back the last couple of years. Well, LSU in general just took a step back under Ed Orgeron. But he's healthy. The reports are saying he's healthy, and he would be a big get for the Eagles at 15. But you have the Texans taking him at 13. All right, Mitch, the 14th overall selection in the 2022 NFL Draft. The Baltimore Ravens select.
All right. So I'm stuck between an edge and a cornerback. So I'm stuck between the two. So you know what? Give me Jermaine Johnson here. I feel like he's a top 5 edge in this draft class. I love him. I mean, dude, what else is there to say about Jermaine Johnson? I feel like that's a great pick.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk of him going top 10.
Yeah.
And he's really shot up a lot of teams' draft boards, especially after the Senior Bowl week. He pretty much dominated the entire week. And he's going to be I think he might be a name that goes off earlier than 14. It wouldn't shock me if he goes top 10. What are your thoughts on Johnson going to Baltimore, Connor?
I like it. I mean, if you get Jermaine Johnson there, this is a really good edge class at the top. I mean, we've hit most of the big names. There's still one name floating around that is likely to go here soon in our mock draft. But, I mean, you get the opportunity. There's 5 or 6 really good, really solid edges, and edge has become a vitally important position because in a pass-first league, the CBs stop things. The edges create the pressure. They're the ones who make the quarterback uncomfortable. So a lot of teams are focusing on what Howie's focused on for a long time, and that's working in the trenches, the edge position, the defensive tackle position, the offensive line, shoring up those things and building from outside those positions. So Jermaine Johnson's a good one. He's one of those guys with a super nice ceiling because he's fairly athletic. He's very athletic. He's gifted. The floor may not be as good as some of those top end edges who have already went, but the opportunity for the Ravens to get him at 14, awesome.
All right, now we hit the first of 2 for the Philadelphia Eagles. The last 4 picks, the Eagles would have been happy with any of those 4. Jamison Williams, Trayvon Walker, Derek Stingley, or Jermaine Johnson. I think if Johnson's there at 15, that's where they go. But he's not on the board in our mock draft here. So with the 15th selection in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Devin Lloyd, linebacker out of Utah. It's a shocker because they haven't taken a linebacker since 79, I think it is.
Yeah.
They obviously don't value the position. Bringing in Kaiser White, that might be their, hey, look, they did it last year with Eric Wilson, and that lasted all 6 games, and he got cut. We haven't really had that legit linebacker since we had D'Amico Ryans. And we haven't drafted one since we drafted Jeremiah Trotter, somebody that can be a legit force in the middle of the defense. I like Nakobe Dean better than Devin Lloyd, but Devin Lloyd screams Howie Roseman. So a converted safety to linebacker, hasn't played. He only played he didn't start playing linebacker, I think, until junior year of high school, if I'm not mistaken. So this screams Howie Roseman. And yes, they'll take a linebacker, and I think a linebacker, set with him, TJ Edwards. They have Hassan Reddick as an outside linebacker, but we know he's going to be rushing the passer. Kaiser White. So they're going to finally have names at linebacker, and Devin Lloyd will be a good pick for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I know that I took Devin Lloyd in my mock draft, but the more and more I hear from insiders of wide receiver, defensive back, and defensive line being the focus of this draft, the more and more I'm like, linebacker really isn't going to happen again, is it, Howie? We're really going to go down this road. We're not going to draft a linebacker in the first round. You think you got this diamond in the rough in Kaiser White, undeniably so, very likely. great deal. You may have to pay him a ton of money at the end of this season when he shows out on this prove it deal. But we're really not going to address that position again. We're really going to look at, to me, the names that dive off the board are Davis, McDuffie, and Karlaftis. In this situation.
Karlaftis wouldn't surprise me. I really wanted to go, if Jamison Williams was there, I would have went Jamison Williams. That's what I really want at 15. Look, Treylon Burks, I like Treylon Burks, but I don't know if I like him at 15. I can see a trade back at 18 to try to get him in the 20s, but I'm going to stick with Devin Lloyd for now. What once the Eagles pick at 16 is now the New Orleans Saints. So, Connor, the New Orleans Saints at number 16 take.
I saw a lot of talk about them really liking Kenny Pickett. So Kenny Pickett being off the board, it throws a wrench into this. I didn't think he'd go where he went. So I'm going to have to pivot here.
I kind of started that when Malik Willis, didn't I?
Yeah. You likely got the trigger going a little happy on the quarterback position.
That's what happens in the draft.
Biggest needs outside of that, tackle, wide receiver. This name, based on everything I have seen, will 100% absolutely, I would put so much money on this, will not make it out of the top 10. Charles Cross, offensive tackle out of Mississippi State. There's no way he's making it out of the top 10. There's too many reports. Both the New York teams love him. There's teams who love him more on their board than Ekam Ekwonu, some that like him more than Evan Neal. I don't like that. I like it. I think he's still the offensive tackle, the third one that should be going off the board after those guys. But if the New Orleans Saints land Charles Cross at 16, that would be massive. That would be huge. That would be absolutely not going to happen. But I am going to dream it up in this scenario because it just happened.
No, this is what happens when we have no trades, man. And people. But this is where most mock drafts, if you think they're going to be correct, is when you go out of the box. Like our 32 picks here for the first round we'll be lucky if we get 4 right. Let's be real. But we'll see. All right, so we're halfway through the first round of the 2022 NFL or Kelly Green Hour NFL mock draft. Aiden Hutchinson went number 1 overall. Kayvon Thibodeau number 2. Evan Neal number 3. Sauce Gardner number 4. Ekam Ekwonu number 5. Garrett Wilson number 6. Kyle Hamilton number 7. Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, and Drake London round out the top 10. Jamison Williams to the Washington Commanders at number 11. Trayvon Walker at number 12. Derek Stingley to the Texans at 13. Jermaine Johnson to the Ravens at 14. Devin Lloyd to the Philadelphia Eagles at 15. And Charles Cross to the New Orleans Saints at 16. Let's start the first pick of the second half of this first round. With the number 17 overall, the Los Angeles Chargers, who have spent a lot of money this offseason improving that team and that defense. They're on the board. Mitch, who are the Chargers going to take?
You can go a couple ways. Offensive. How would you guys rate that offensive line? How would you rate it? Like on a scale from 1 to 10. How would you rate it?
Like for 10 being the highest?
Yeah.
Probably a 6 or 7.
Yeah, that's exactly what I
I'd
would
probably be in that ballpark too. It's not great. But with everything else around the offensive line, you kind of forget that it would even have needs.
I know. So, you know what? I'm going with offensive line here. So give me Penning. I really like Penning.
From Northern Iowa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was
I like him, man. He's vicious. There's a lot of teams that like him. He's sneaking into the first round. I won't lie, that play at the Senior Bowl where he threw a lineman into your quarterback, that is part of the viciousness of him that he needs to realize there's a quarterback behind him, and you don't. He is damn lucky that didn't lead to anything. But to me, Trevor Penning, he plays with such a grit, such a motor. Like, Trevor Penning's a great pick. He's a good tackle pick. You just got to teach him out of those types of situations. Because it's like, Penning, if you tear Justin Herbert's ACL because you throw a man into him, you will never have a job in this league again. So smarten him up in that way. But yes, great.
There were a lot of good battles at the Senior Bowl between him and Jermaine Johnson, I believe. So Penning is a name that I don't know if he'll be there at 17 either. You know how offensive linemen, And once there's a run on offensive linemen, they all start to go. So Trevor Penning to the Chargers. I almost said San Diego Chargers.
I still say that. I don't care.
It's a good pick. And,
I still say it.
The Chargers are trying to they got a battle with the Rams. The Rams just won the Super Bowl. They spent a lot of money. They brought in J.C. Jackson. They've been bringing. They traded for Khalil Mack. They re-signed Mike Williams. So they spent a lot of money this year. So we'll see where that takes them.
They let go of Kaiser White. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, hopefully there isn't a reason they didn't re-sign him, and where he comes here and he's a bust. But when it comes to the linebacker position, that tends to happen. All right, let's move to the number 18 overall pick in the 2022 NFL or Kelly Green Hour NFL mock draft. The Philadelphia Eagles are on the board for the second time in 3 picks. They are going to take cornerback Andrew Booth out of Clemson.
Ooh.
I wanted to go receiver. I really want Jamison Williams. And Chris Olave,
I'm a Michigan fan, so please no.
I like Olave, but I like Williams better. And I think that there's going to be – this is a draft where there's depth at receiver. And I think the top, 3 or 4 are really good. And there's a little bit of a drop-off with the next one, say a George Pickens, Jahan Dotson. So if they wanted to trade back into the back end of the first round to get a receiver, they could. If they wanted to trade up in the second round to get a Pickens, they could. But Andrew Booth, they need a number 2 corner right now behind Darius Slay. Darius Slay only has, 2-3 years left potentially in Philly. Then he can groom Andrew Booth to be the number 1 corner. They have a bunch of slot corners. They don't have that second corner on the outside. And Andrew Booth, I think, will help that. And I think when you get Andrew Booth, they don't draft a safety. You sign Tyrann Mathieu. Your secondary automatically looks better than it does today. And even last year. I know we brought back Anthony Harris. Marcus Epps is the other starting safety right now. Darius Slay is starter or at cornerback 1. Cornerback 2 is Zach McPherson, maybe. And we know that Avonte Maddox is the slot corner. They need a legit cornerback 2. Yeah, they weren't able to get Stephon Gilmore. They weren't able to get anybody in free agency. And Connor, as you talked about, they traded for a lot of young guys last year. Kerry Vincent. They drafted Zach McPherson. They have Tay Gowan. They have a bunch of names. They have more quantity over quality. But I think Andrew Booth is going to definitely make up for that, and he'll be a big get for the Eagles at number 18.
Now, let me ask you this.
I like it. I want to point out that in my mock draft, I'm pretty sure that last Saturday, this is exactly how I had it. I had Devin Lloyd and I had Andrew Booth, but I'm beginning to question my Devin Lloyd pick based on all the reports. But I almost am at the point where there's not enough information out there. They like wide receiver, but what wide receiver do they like?
I think it's Jamison.
I think it's Jamison Williams, too.
In the first round, yeah. But they go back if they take one in the second round, Pickens, Dotson, Watson from North Dakota State. I think that, but in the first round, I really think it's Jamison Williams, maybe Olave, but I do think if Jamison Williams is there at 15, they take him. And a lot of Eagles fans are going to be pissed because that's 3 years in a row you take a receiver in the first round. But in our mock draft, he's not there. Got to go with Booth. And they need to help that defense. Severely need to help that defense. And Devin Lloyd and Andrew Booth are a good start.
What about you, Mitch? Thoughts?
I love the Andrew Booth pick. I really do. I mean, we need help at corner. It's common sense here. But me and my guy, who's also an Eagles content creator, he's a part of the show, and he thinks we should take a center over a wide receiver in the corner. Huh? Yeah.
So my only thing about that is if Kelsey was retiring, yes, 100%, take Linderbaum. He starts at center day 1. I do think Linderbaum can start at right guard, but I don't think you take a right guard at.
Thank you. That's exactly what I've been saying.
And I think Linderbaum's going to be good, but they drafted Jason Kelsey in the 5th or 6th round. They'll be able to find a center next year if they don't want to move Landon Dickerson over. They'll find somebody to play center. But I think knowing the Eagles, and while they like to build from inside out, I think they're content with their offensive line right now. To where if they had to choose between Linderbaum and Williams, they're going to take Williams. They'll take the receiver every time because they tried to get Ridley. They tried to go after all the receivers. Who knows? They may even trade for Deebo Samuel. We don't know. But they've been trying to improve that second receiver spot all offseason and haven't been able to. And again, I'm putting that up because they don't have the quarterback that number 2 receivers are going to want to come to play with when you're going to throw the ball to Devontae, you're going to throw the ball to Dallas Goedert, and then hand the ball off and run the ball 50% of the time. Why would you're going to have to draft a receiver in order to get somebody to come here? But let's move on to the 19th pick, which also used to be the Eagles pick, but is not no more. The New Orleans Saints take. Go ahead, Connor.
So I get the 2 Saints picks and I get the 2 Jets picks. This is fun. I'm building franchises for these guys.
Hey, I screwed over the draft by taking Malik Willis. It's fun.
This is true. This is definitely true. I'm stuck staring down wide receivers, and I'm also stuck staring down likely Jordan Davis at the top of the board. But to me, I think the need is at wide receiver. You've had Michael Thomas and pretty much nobody for far too long. And Michael Thomas continues to show that, he's at risk of injury. There's a constant risk that he might miss time. There's a constant risk that although he restructured his contract and you would feel you are safe for a couple of years, that he won't pull this garbage, that he could pull the I want out of town card. And he is showing it in the past. To me, I am going to go with Chris Olave.
I knew you were going to go that route.
I think Chris Olave is the better option to be an X that can win on the outside, whereas I feel like Treylon Burks works the inside. He works the screen plays. He works in the slot. He might be more of in some slant plays, some more manufactured touches, although he can win on the outside with his contested catch ability. I think Chris Olave as a route running technician is someone who's going to get open at will, which is something we have not seen for the New Orleans Saints as they have struggled to kind of fit square pegs in circle holes with like Traquan Smith. And they thought that they were going to have the emergence of a potential wide receiver this past year. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head. But they felt that they had other people in the room, but I just don't think they have the people in the room. I think Chris Olave is a choice here. Chris Olave or Treylon Burks, either one I think you would be happy with for the Saints.
Yeah, and you're going to need somebody to help wherever the quarterback's going to be for them, whether it's Jameis Winston or whoever. And like you said, you don't know if you can really trust Michael Thomas. So we'll see. It's a good pick for the Saints.
Just 1 second. I have to point this comment out because I think this is wild. And this is Mitch's boy. I think Tay Gowan is better than Andrew Booth.
I don't know who this is.
Oh, okay. This is someone else who came.
It was Coach Dante. That's my guy.
Okay.
I don't know who this is.
Guy. Okay.
Tay Gowan was my YouTube.
Tay Gowan was drafted as such as I believe he was a 7th round pick and then traded in a 6th round pick trade for a reason.
Well, I mean, they did get Zach Ertz in that trade.
They did, but like. No disrespect, but I wouldn't be there with this group of 5 Tay Gowan who went accordingly on day 3 when you're talking about a guy coming out of Clemson, a CB coming out of Clemson, who is emerging as a guy who is going to likely go in the first round, if not the top 20.
I don't look at the whole group of 5, Power 5 thing that much. I get it, the talent, like Desmond Ridder, who was really good he didn't face the same talent as, Kenny Pickett, whatever other quarterbacks that aren't going to be very good from this draft. So like, I don't take into that too much into account, but that's a big statement right there saying Tay Gowan's better than Booth.
I guess I should readjust my statement. If you're group of 5 and you land on day 1 or day 2, you have my attention. If you're group of 5 and you land on day 3, you have landed accordingly for a reason, and that would be my concern. If Desmond Ridder gets first-round draft capital, there's a reason Desmond Ridder's getting first-round draft capital coming out of the group of 5. Like
I don't
I
think he
rightfully understand it. I agree. I don't think he should at all either. But to me, that's the difference. If you are a Power 5 guy and you land on day 3, I also would then have my ears peaked at, okay, I'm a little concerned here. If you were supposed to have better draft capital, that's my thing. If you land a certain way for a reason, that's where I have concern. I do like Tay Gowan, though. I really do like Tay Gowan. I wanted him to be an Eagle during that draft where he went late. And when we got him, I'm like, okay, I would like to see something work out here with Tay Gowan. I do like him. I saw some nice things on his tape as well. The take is hot. It is very spicy, Rufus.
That is a very hot take. All right, so we're going to hit the 20th overall pick with the Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock. Mitch, who do you have the Steelers taking?
So, who's your quarterback again?
Mitch Trubisky.
So, technically, it's me. So, great. But, you know what? I'm going to go wide receiver here. They just lost Juju. So, give me Treylon Burks. Give me Treylon Burks here. I feel like he can make an impact. So I'm thinking Treylon Burks.
I think here, personally, I think there's more needs. I mean, I don't think
there is a lot of
need a wide receiver because you look at Deontay Johnson. The departure of Juju to me was not something that should have set in motion a need for wide receiver for the Steelers personally, because I think Pat Freiermuth fills that role. I think he fills that slot role fine. Yeah, but he's a tight end, but he fills the slot role fine. He works the inline. He works the slot for you. He can eat a good chunk of those targets while the rest of them go elsewhere. I don't necessarily believe the need's there, but I do like it.
What do you think
that they're – here, you can go.
I'm sorry, Mitch. What do you think they need? They think it's a defensive need? Linebacker? Like they have
I'm going to go quarterback. I'm going to go Matt Corral.
Quarterback makes sense.
I think this is another drop back spot. They can drop back a few spots. Green Bay, the Patriots aren't taking a quarterback. Green Bay is not going to take a quarterback. Arizona
might because Kyler Murray, whatever's going on with him.
I think he's going to resign. I think they're going to give him a contract. Like, I don't think he gets traded.
Agreed. I think with the focus on the defense, if Jordan Davis lands at 20 and the quarterbacks you want are off the board, Jordan Davis fits here. Listen, I'm not saying the Treylon Burks pick is absolutely nonsensical. I like it. Help make sure Mitch Trubisky succeeds. If this is going to be the guy, you gave him a prove-it 2-year deal, and you want him to potentially be your guy, maybe he's a bridge quarterback to get you to next year. If he's a bridge quarterback, you also want the next quarterback to succeed equally. So I can see setting your bridge quarterback and your future quarterback up for success with Treylon Burks.
Also, the quarterbacks are a hell of a lot better next year, potentially. And if they're not going to – I mean, Pittsburgh is usually as Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season, if I'm not mistaken.
Nope. So, that is correct.
The chances of them actually having a top 5 pick to go for a Bryce Young, CJ Stroud type at quarterback is slim to none. But like you said, Connor, get some help. And before we move on to the 21st pick, Rufus did come back at you, which he wasn't top 5, but Danny Watkins did play at Baylor, and Danny Watkins was awful. He was terrible. As an Eagles fan, we all know this. He played at Baylor, a Power 5 school. That's why that means nothing to me. So, and then Marcus Smith played at Louisville, top up Power 5 school. So none of that means so good comeback, Rufus. I'm with you on that.
It's fair. Listen, Rufus, there was no disrespect there, and I love a healthy conversation. And we can point out group of 5 successes and failures, and we can point out Power 5 successes and failures all night. And I would love to do that with you. So I respect the decision. I respect the take, and I would love nothing more than Tay Gowan to become the CB2 and future CB1 in Philadelphia.
Oh my God!
Without having to invest a first-round pick.
I do have something to say to you, Connor. You mentioned how if they drop to day 3, there's a reason. Did you know of the players on rosters in the NFL in 2021, 66% of them were from day 3 of the NFL draft?
I think I saw that tweet before we came on the air, and I'm guessing you saw it at the same time as I did. So, okay. I'll back down for now.
There we go. So let's move on.
No, actually, real quick. Do you think they're going to double Deontay Johnson? Because I feel like the defense would, because he's their number one guy. So you have to get a Treylon Burks who can actually.
They won't have to because it's Mitch Trubisky throwing. All you got to do is get pressure on
They could
Trubisky.
also get Baker Mayfield. I've been hearing Baker Mayfield for like a while now.
To Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah,
be,
that's not
and like
I don't
the only way it happens is he gets released. There's
He
no
gets
way they
released.
trade.
Yeah, that's
in
the only
division.
way.
Well,
That's the only
the
way.
Eagles did trade McNabb in division. Just gonna say.
True.
All right.
We also gave up Jeremiah Trotter. So what are you talking about?
Well, we didn't trade him though. They just didn't re-sign him.
I was young when that happened. I was like,
And then he
I was
came
really
back.
young.
And then he came back. So all right, so let's move on to the number 21 overall. The New England Patriots are on the clock, and they just lost Stephon Gilmore to the Colts. So the New England Patriots are going to draft Trent McDuffie, cornerback out of Washington. They're going to
I like that.
somebody,
I
and
like
they lost J.C. Jackson too. So they lost both of their starting corners. So they need help at cornerback.
There's a lot of
Trent
good
McDuffie
players
to the New
still.
England Patriots.
I like it. I honestly think that's a good pick. It's the right way to go. They did decide to trade mid-season, so they've lost Stephon Gilmore for a while, but that need of CB,
Oh yeah, that's right.
that need of CB never has been filled. So obviously, you didn't fill it in free agency. It's a need that continues to rear its ugly head today. I like the pick. I think it's a good pick. There's obviously other options. There's always going to be other options, but you can't go wrong with, you got to find yourself a cornerback of the future. Trent McDuffie, one of those guys who's getting a lot of hype in the first round as a cornerback. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, I forgot that he went to Carolina in the midseason, but still makes the point they didn't replace him. They lost J.C. Jackson. All right, so let's move to number 22 overall, the Green Bay Packers, who lost in the divisional round to the San Francisco 49ers, and their defense didn't give up a touchdown. Did not give up a touchdown. Will they draft Aaron Rodgers, an offensive weapon, with the 22nd overall pick, Connor?
Oh, boy.
The fact that Jordan Davis is still here at 22.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I was saying.
We're clearly throwing some shade on Jordan Davis, and he's not going to get this far. But to me, you can't, as the Green Bay Packers, give up Devontae Adams and not go wide receiver here. You just can't. It's impossible. You're not going to do this again, are you? Really? You're not going to go with like Matt Corral on this one, are you?
But do they wait till the 28th pick to take a receiver?
Yes, you could. You could. I mean, you look at Arizona. Would they go wide receiver? Potentially. They have an okay offense. It was electric last year. They probably want to keep it electric. Cowboys, there's rumors of wide receiver. I don't think the need's necessarily there, so I don't think they just do it as a spite shot. Buffalo, need could be there. Argued a good wide receiver too could be there. Titans, I would argue no, but there's obviously
if
the
AJ Brown
rumors.
gets traded.
Yeah, if AJ Brown gets traded,
I know they got Robert Woods, but still.
To me, the threat is there that of the next 5 picks, literally 5 of them could be wide receiver.
So
Shouldn't be.
Okay, so which receiver are you taking?
I am going to go.
I love
George Pickens.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
I like George Pickens. Listen, I've heard the Christian Watson. There's a lot of hype. I've heard a lot of hype is more the Twitterverse, more fantasy people. It's not necessarily the hype isn't necessarily felt the same within league circles. Jahan Dotson, to me, he's really good. He's a speedster. When I watched his tape, I had issues with his ability with his size. I took issue with his size. I don't necessarily, and he's a good route runner, but he's not as nuanced as a guy like Devonta Smith or a guy like Chris Olave. To me, George Pickens has that high upside. He's got that high potential. I feel like the way the board has fallen, Treylon Burks should have fallen to me. Chris Olave should have fallen to me, but they didn't fall to me. So George Pickens, to me, has the best next upside to me. The injury and the loss of a season really hurt George Pickens, but I think there's still so much to like about Pickens. So I'm going Pickens.
That celebrating you hear from Wisconsin is Aaron Rodgers because they finally got him a first-round weapon. Let's move to the 23rd overall pick. The Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. Mitch, who are the Cardinals taking?
All right. Can you go to all, please?
Absolutely.
And you know what? I'm surprised he's still here. I'm not going Jordan Davis. I'm not going Linderbaum. Give me Devontae Wyatt. Give me Devontae Wyatt here because he's a big behemoth that can clog up the middle. And can you picture him next to J.J. Watt?
I like it.
Give me Devontae Wyatt.
Yeah, that feels.
There's no way that he's going to fall this far.
I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is a potential red flag, and I thought it was with Devontae Wyatt that has him falling on teams' boards. I don't know if it was a domestic issue or something like that. I could be misquoting the name, so don't fully quote me on this, but I thought it was Devontae Wyatt who had the potential red flag.
Maybe. I projected that he was going to be in top 8. That's what I've been hearing. Top 8.
Well, obviously,
I could be wrong.
I think not doing trades kind of changes things. People would be trading up for like Jordan Davis, not going to be on the board. George Karlaftis probably.
He might. Linderbaum? No.
All right, so now we're going to the NFC East rivals of the Philadelphia Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys. Can I take a punter or a kicker?
I always take the kicker. I always take Dicker the kicker.
All right. That wouldn't shock me if they took Dicker the kicker later on in the draft. So with the 24th overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft, the Dallas Cowboys are going to take –
Don't do it.
Tyler Linderbaum.
Thank God. I thought you were going to go Jordan Davis here.
No, it was between Linderbaum and Nakobe Dean, but they I know Linderbaum doesn't play tackle, but like their center wasn't that good last year, and like Linderbaum, while he may be undersized, Dallas has to fix that the offensive line. So Linderbaum will be a star for them. When they drafted who was the center that retired? Travis Frederick.
Yeah, right.
He was a staple of the offensive line for years. And then he retired and then kind of went downhill. So they got to try to build it back up. So I'm going to go Tyler Linderbaum for the Dallas Cowboys.
I like that.
I like it. I think it's a good pick. I mean, I've heard mixed reviews on Tyler Linderbaum that he might make the first round. He may not make the first round. But, of course, this is a completely unpredictable draft. So who knows what's going to happen. But, I get it. It makes sense. Yep. It's good.
All
good
right.
Move.
25th or at the 25th pick of the 2022 Kelly Green Hour NFL mock draft. The Buffalo Bills are on the clock. Connor, who are the Bills taking?
They potentially need a wide receiver, and they also need a CB.
And a running back.
To me, running back's always like an over.
Yeah, I would not even take
associated need with the Buffalo Bills. I don't think the Bills would take that because they don't use the running back position as much as others might think. To me, I got Jahan Dotson here. I like his fit. I liked Kyrie Elam here as well. So I had a tough decision here. But I got Jahan Dotson because I think he complements so well with his speed and the ability that he has with Stephon Diggs. And like you have your red zone guy, you have Gabriel Davis. You know what he can do. He put up 4 touchdowns in a damn playoff game. Like you know what this guy can.
One of the best games I've ever seen. By the way.
Absolutely, but like you saw, a lot of it was the touchdowns, big plays. You know that he's an X guy who can win on the outside and he can win in the red zone. But to me, Jahan Dotson's a guy who can become a weapon for you. And he can replace the void that was left by Emmanuel Sanders and the void that could be left which they should move on from Cole Beasley as well.
I think they did. I think he's a free agent.
They did as well. So they did as well. So this really fills that void of 2 people in one. So I would take Jahan Dotson here.
That's a good pick. So let's move to the AFC North Champs, right? They won the division. The Tennessee Titans are on the clock. They traded for Robert Woods. They should have a healthy Derrick Henry back. Who do you got the Titans taking, Mitch?
There's a couple options here. I don't think they desperately need a wide receiver. I mean, is A.J. Brown still there? He is, right? He is. So they desperately
wants a new contract, though.
Right.
Who, by the way, was training with Jalen Hurts today.
And yesterday and the day before, I think.
Yeah, they've been training together a lot.
Yeah.
I know it means nothing, but
it doesn't. But they can go. There's so many. You know what? Who's their linebacker? Do you know who their linebacker is?
I'm gonna say it's a need.
Yeah. give
They
me
have
Jordan
some
Davis.
there, but
He's still there. Give me Jordan Davis. Is there much else to say?
I mean, they got abused by Cincinnati in the playoff game. Granted, their defense had like 9 sacks. I don't know how they lost, but you can always use help in the middle of that defense. And Jordan Davis being there, I think anybody that could take Jordan Davis in the late 20s would be happy. All right, so the 27th overall pick belongs to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have them taking Kenyon Green, interior offensive lineman out of Texas A&M. He can play center. He can play guard. I know their center re-signed, but he's also been contemplating, potentially retirement. I think their one guard retired, and they lost somebody. So, you want to rebuild that offensive line in front of Tom Brady. You don't want your Brady getting hit. And I think Kenyon Green will help out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers immensely. So let's move to the 28th. Is this the third team you've picked for 2 times, Connor?
Yeah. We're really building franchises here with the way this happened.
Possible.
The Green Bay Packers are on the clock. You got them a receiver last time. Where you got them going this time?
I was praying Jordan Davis continued his unprecedented slide, but he sadly did not. So this pick for me is easy. George Karlaftis. They've lost some bodies on the defensive side of the ball. They need some guys who can get after the quarterback. You got your weapon for Aaron Rodgers. Less wide receivers went than I thought in those 5 picks that I thought could be any wide receivers. And I, of course, took the only other wide receiver. So George Karlaftis for me makes the most sense.
Yes, definitely does. They need help on that defense. I was contemplating linebacker there. Only they lost to Darius Smith in free agency. So, but I mean, George Karlaftis, they get after the quarterback. So, and you're gonna have a couple of quarterbacks in that division that are. You got Bears with that. Justin Fields is going to be running all over the place. You still have Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. And Jared Goff in Detroit. So you just get after the quarterback, get pressure. That'll help the back 7. Let's move to the 29th overall draft pick of the 2022 Kelly Green Hour mock draft. The Kansas City Chiefs with their first of 2 back-to-back picks. Go ahead, Mitch.
You know what? Tyrann Mathieu looks like he's going to be gone. I'm taking.
They did sign Reed. They signed Justin Reed from the Texans.
When?
He was one of the first players signed.
Why am I drawing a blank now?
Kansas City did sign Justin Reed. I knew you wanted to go your Michigan guy, but I wanted to make sure you were aware.
You just had to do that to me, didn't you? God.
Yep. So
you know what? Give me your best defenseman. Chiefs need the defense. They need to build it up. Give me Nakobe Dean.
Man,
you gotta go with best available, right? How did he slide to 29?
I want to slide to 29 because there's no trades, but we still are gonna go with it. We're gonna roll with it. I like it. Nakobe Dean seems like a good pick. Do the Chiefs have a need at linebacker? There is a need. There's a need that exists in a number of positions. Wide receiver, you can talk cornerback, you can talk edge. There's a lot of needs, but as things are getting a little bit thinner down here, Nakobe Dean to me makes a lot of sense.
Now the Chiefs are back on the clock with the 30th overall selection. I'm trying to think of the needs that the Chiefs have.
The loss of Tyreek Hill would put wide receiver up there.
I'm going to take this. Oh, wow. They can't do that. I kind of want to do it because he wouldn't be Tyreek Hill, but he's the best. I'm going John Mechie, wide receiver, Alabama.
Wow.
Over Watson and wow.
Mechie is more of a speed guy.
Right.
And that's kind of what they want. I know they have Mecole Hardman, but they're not that often. I mean, they did re-sign Josh Gordon. Who knows what he's gonna bring to them? But they're not that type. We're gonna throw it up in the back, do fades. They're the speed offense. They want to run up and down the field. And I think that John Mechie, when healthy, and I know he's coming off of an ACL as well. When healthy, he can burn. And I think that he fits the offense of the Kansas City Chiefs more than a Watson or Sky Moore do. John Mechie from Alabama being the second wide receiver taken in the first round after they had two last year too. They had Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith taken in the first round. So John Mechie,
like it.
the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's move to the 31st.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. I'm just going based off of the offense that the Chiefs run. I know that Watson might be a better player potentially, but if Mechie didn't get hurt, he's a first-round receiver, I think. Just like if Williams didn't get hurt, he's a top 10 receiver. He'll be picked in the top 10. All right, so let's go to the AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. Connor, who do you got the Bengals taking?
They have a need at the interior of the offensive line. They brought Eli Apple back. He got absolutely abused. They have a need at corner. They have a need at safety. So there's obviously, look at the top of the big board here. There's some nice names sitting up on that board. You brought Eli Apple back where it's a pass first league. You know it firsthand with Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins under your belt. I'm going Kyer Elam on this one. Kyer Elam to me is a good outside defender. He's physical. He plays big. He is a good size. You got to work on that cornerback position. To me, there was Kyler Elam there. There was Roger McCreary, a bit more of deficiencies from the size side of things. So you don't want to be put in that situation, especially when you're looking for a CB1 or a potential CB1. So Kyrie Elam for me with the Bengals.
They do need help. And now the Rams did it to a lot of people, but in that second half, Cooper Kupp just abused Eli Apple. And they do need help on that offensive line because if you don't protect Joe Burrow, they may have what happened to Andrew Luck happen to him. He might just walk away early. But it's a good pick getting a cornerback. And with the final pick in the 2022 Kelly Green Hour NFL mock draft, the Detroit Lions select.
I don't know if this is crazy or not. Jared Goff. I don't think he's their quarterback. You need to start fresh. I'll take Matt Corral with the 32nd pick.
I like it. That to me, like I feel like there's been a lot of rumors at the top that kind of speak to maybe there's something there at number 2 that they might consider Malik Willis and stuff.
I was thinking that when I did it. I was thinking that.
There's something potentially there. There's waves within the insiders that could potentially exist, especially with 2 first-round picks. But I like it. If Matt Corral's there, you could take a shot. Desmond Ridder is getting a lot of hype for first-round draft capital. As me and LJ alluded to, probably shouldn't be. One of his biggest issues is accuracy. So that is something you don't teach often. And the QB school guy who I referenced, the Don't Comp Unicorns, the statement came from don't expect many Josh Allens in the league that take that massive leap forward with accuracy as a quarterback. That was what he was most referencing to, but it can be referenced to a lot of things. So that accuracy is a massive thing that needs work in Desmond Ridder's game, but he is garnering some first round draft hype.
And I think that's what the Giants are hoping for with, Daniel Jones, and then bringing in Brian Dable after what he did with Josh Allen, and the jump that he made from year 1 to year 2 and year 3. So they're hoping that can happen there. But this is our 2022 Kelly Green Hour NFL mock draft. Aiden Hutchinson went number 1 overall. Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal, Amon Gardner, Akeem Ekwonu, Garrett Wilson, probably a surprise, it won't happen, Kyle Hamilton, Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, Drake London round out the top 10. Jamison Williams to the Commanders, Trayvon Walker, Derek Stingley, Jermaine Johnson, and Devin Lloyd to the Philadelphia Eagles. Charles Cross, Trevor Panning, Andrew Booth Jr. to the Eagles, Chris Olave to the Saints, and Treylon Burke to the Steelers to round out the top 20. And to finish off the final 12, Trent McDuffie to the Patriots, George Pickens, Devontae Wyatt, Tyler Linderbaum to the Dallas Cowboys, Jahan Dotson to the Bills, Jordan Davis, Kenyon Green, George Karlaftis to Green Bay, Nakobe Dean, John Mechie III to Kansas City, Khalil Alam to Cincinnati, and Matt Corral with the final pick to the Detroit Lions, and that with the 32nd overall pick. We are 4 days away, fellas. Will our mock draft be right? No. I'm going to bet that we may have 4 right, maybe, if we're lucky. But, guys, I want to focus on the Philadelphia Eagles in the last minute of our show here. The Philadelphia Eagles, with the 15th and 18th, if they stay there, if they trade, whatever, who is the one player that the Eagles should have on their roster by the end of Thursday night?
I don't think they move up unless Gardner slides, like I said, to right after that New York Giants pick. So I know that the hype is real. Trade up. But we know one of the biggest things Howie's been doing is getting more assets. So there's more likely a trade back at 15 or 18 than a trade up. So the name you have to leave with, I think, is Jameson Williams.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think when we talked about it last week, I said similarly, obviously Sauce Gardner's the name. But I think realistically at 15, 18 or trade back, it's Jameson Williams, man. You got to shore that up. If you could not land any, but we were almost there. We were so close on literally every single name. I expected the
Were we close though?
Were we close? I fully expect a lot of insiders already have the tweet written out about Tyrann Mathieu, and we were really close, but for when we miss on Tyrann Mathieu post-draft, because I think that's what's going to happen. People are going to see how their boards shake out, and then Tyrann Mathieu's going to get his final offer. But Jameson Williams, to me, is a guy I think he can play the X. He can win outside. He can do what you need. You can use Quez Watkins as your slot guy. You can move Devonta Smith around as a movable Z. You can put him at the X spot. You can also move Jameson Williams around. It gives you just so much flexibility, so much speed at the position and in the offense. So that would be the pick I think you realistically need to walk away with 15 or later.
What about you, Mitch? Who should the Eagles draft? Who should be in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform come Thursday night?
Okay. So, personally, I want them to go defense because this wide receiving class is so stacked. Like, you can get a good one in the second round. Like, Christian Watson was still available. Sky Morin's there. Obviously, I would like one of the top guys, but for me, I would go defense here. So, I would not be mad with the Devin Lloyd or Nakobe Dean in that area, but Nakobe Dean apparently dropped for us, and I don't know how that happened. but I think
that's why.
Yeah, but it's just so I'm going with Devin Lloyd here. Gonna break that linebacker curse or streak.
Okay, I'm with Connor. I want Jameson Williams. If it's not going to be Sauce Gardner or Kyle Hamilton, I want it to be Jameson Williams. Look, you aren't going to be able to attract receivers here with who you have playing quarterback right now, so you have to draft them. And they're forced to come here pretty much. So, if they can get a legit number 2 a number 2 receiver opposite of Devontae Smith, make it the Alabama offense right there. You have the Alabama quarterback with 2 Alabama receivers and an Alabama guy on the offensive line. Let's be Alabama East. I don't care. But that's who I think. I'm with you, Connor. Jameson Winston. Or why did you say Jameson? Jameson Williams. Woo-wee. It's been a long hour.
I love it. Before you run through our names and our where you can find us, shout out to Mitch Kofsky, who's joined us for the last couple weeks and been here for the Philadelphia Eagles mock draft, which was not live streamed, but you can find over on any podcast platform that you listen. And then, of course, we did this one today, full first round mock draft. As always, thank you, Mitch, so much for joining us. Take 30 seconds to shout out where people can find you.
All right. And just got to say, if Malik Willis somehow goes to Atlanta, I'll be like, whoa, I called that. But you guys can find me on YouTube and Twitter right here, Mitch Kofsky. Twitter's right there. I'm going to do a lot of live play-by-plays for the playoffs. I got a lot of mock drafts coming up. This week's going to be fun. This week's going to be fun. I just hope that the Sixers win it tomorrow, so that way in Game 6 it's not the same day as the draft.
Go Raptors, 4 in a row. Let's do it.
Oh my God! I'm just telling you, if that happens, like if we play Game 6 on Thursday, it's never going to Game 7. I'm saying that right now. But it's going to be hard without Fred Fleet.
Which would get higher ratings in Philly, Game 6 or the NFL first round of NFL draft?
NFL draft.
NFL draft.
You think the NBA now? I know we're going a little off, but the NFL is going to have 3 games on Christmas, which is usually the NBA's day. You think they scrap it and just be like, let's not even go up against the NFL?
That's going to be fun to see. I can't wait for Christmas because I'm Jewish and I don't celebrate Christmas. So I got a lot of stuff to watch.
Football galore. Hopefully,
I don't have to go to the movies.
Yeah, Connor said hopefully the Eagles can play, but I don't think we have a quarterback that warrants Christmas Day. But thank you everybody for our first live stream of the Kelly Green Hour as we got our first round NFL mock draft in. You can follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. You can follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10, and you can follow me on Twitter at LJ Harrell 54. Wherever, if you're listening to the podcast of this, please rate and review our show. And you can reach out to us on Twitter and DM us and let us know if there's anything in particular you want us to touch base on during our next live stream, which will be next week, probably on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday.
Likely reacting to the Philadelphia Eagles draft.
Yes, definitely.
Well, the draft is Saturday, so what? You're going to do a watch-along during the?
Well, no, we'll probably be Sunday so that we can react to what transpired. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out. But the next one is absolutely going to be reaction.
Yeah, definitely our first 2 days for sure, and obviously day 3 is important. As I mentioned, we saw the stat: 66% of NFL rosters had players from day 3 in the NFL draft. Connor, let's finish it off thanking the Painted Line guys.
Absolutely. Shout out to the Painted Line guys. They can be found on Twitter at the Painted Lines. They can be found at thepaintedlines.com. They got the Philadelphia content. They also got a bunch of other content. So make sure you check those guys out. They're absolutely awesome guys. And thank you so much for this platform to continue to grow the Kelly Green Hour. LJ?
Yes. So for Mitch, for Connor, I'm LJ. Thank you for listening to the Kelly Green Hour.
You want Philly?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sanders patiently running. Sanders, good cut.